Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today for the second time is Caleb Jenkins. Caleb leads the outsourced tax planning and business accounting services at the team at RLJ Financial Services. At 16, Caleb became certified as a QuickBooks ProAdvisor. We're a Sage, but that's okay. And was recognized as the youngest ProAdvisor in the global program. Caleb has won numerous awards, such as the Top 100 ProAdvisor, 40 Under 40, and many more. It has been Caleb's joy and privilege to give back to the community by serving on numerous councils and advisory boards. One of Caleb's many passions is volunteering for an organization that works with those in material poverty in over 20 countries across the world. Welcome back to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Caleb Jenkins.
Hey, Ed, it's great to be back with you today. It was such fun last time that we just had to get back together again. So Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to today's conversation. And you want to talk about why accounting is really about connections. Tell me about that. So I had an interesting incident a few months ago. And that incident, I was at a study, and the study, a Bible study, and the word came up that it was really a root word of an accounting word. And so I went back and I looked up the definition of that word. And as I started reading back through that section, it was just like there was so many accounting words that popped out to me, therefore, and a whole bunch of other different words that is really about a connection. So I started thinking about accounting in terms of a connection. So what is accounting? It's really a debit is connected to a credit, and they have to balance. It has to equal before you can save your transaction and et cetera. Then it's really about a relationship. So the transaction or the debit or credit is related to something else on one of your accounts. And so it's really about connections and relationships, which is one of my passions in accounting is relationships, building relationships with people, building relationships with third-party apps, building relationships with those that are making a tremendous impact in our profession. And so accounting at its core is really about connections and relationships. It's not about the data entry into a spreadsheet or into an accounting system, because that's boring and that's dry, and maybe some people love that and still enjoy that. I used to be fast at data entry. Today, I love to let the automation do its work and I come behind and review it. But at the core, accounting is really just about a connection. And so that can extrapolate into so many other areas of life and in our areas of what we do, because when a client calls us about something, we build a connection to something else, and we bring up resources or our expertise or our knowledge base that we've built over our decades of work and et cetera, and we provide a resource or a reply or something back to the client. So it's just really exciting when you start to think about accounting more than just a debit or just a credit or just a chart of accounts or just a whatever. It's much bigger than that, and it will carry into so many other areas of life.
Yeah, I agree. Interesting. I was reading a book probably 15 years ago about the history of the zero. Mm-hmm. And one of the chapters was talking about, and in fact, the very famous gospel according to John starts off in the beginning was the word. Well, the word for word in Greek is logos. Yep. And that it's often translated, in fact, almost always translated in that biblical context as word. But a perfectly valid translation of logos is ratio or relationship, or so it could be said that opening passage is in the beginning was the relationship. In the beginning was that relationship, and of course, in the Bible, it's between the Father and the Son of God. But in this, you're extrapolating the same thing out to say, no, what we're talking about here is at the core, at the center of life and of accounting is this notion of relationship.
Exactly, and so it's connection, which leads to a relationship, which then think about all the things in life that you are able to accomplish once you build a connection. And then once you turn that connection into a relationship, life goes so much further in a relational capacity than it does in a non-relational capacity. Like we can do things on our own to some extent, but everything that we do, even on our own, in my experience at least, is because of some relationship that I've built in the past. In myself, I'm just repeating what I've learned and what I've heard from everybody else, and maybe putting my own spin on it, my own jargon and whatever. But at the core, there's nothing new. I'm just regurgitating everything that I've heard. And so that's really because of the relationships that I've built in the past. So
yeah. There are very few innovative ideas overall, too. I mean, we're all putting stuff together that others have. I mean, I'm not talking about really inventive ideas, not innovations. Innovations can be putting different disparate things together, but correct. Inventive, new things. And I think that's where you're absolutely right on and onto something here, because and one of the things I've been talking about lately is this concept that we should approach our firms and look at our firms like the customers are members.
Yep.
Because we can create a membership in a club, if you will, around the members of our club, and maybe even create some of those relationships within our customer base. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we haven't totally got to that point internally here, but I would love to get to that point because think of the differences. Instead of saying somebody's a client or something, which is a legal contractual term. And when they're a client, they call and you see their phone number and I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them today, or whatever. That's not, I mean, that's a relationship in terms of they're paying me, and so I'm going to do work for them, but there's no joy in that. But when you transitioned, as you call it, say a member or a patron or something like that, and they become partners or whatever you want to, club members and et cetera, that changes the dynamic of the relationship to be mutually beneficial. So instead of the old just mutually beneficial in terms of I'm providing a service, you're paying me back in terms of a payment, now it's mutually beneficial in terms of I'm providing you knowledge, you're providing me back, maybe still payment, but you're also providing me back with knowledge and expertise that I can provide to other of my members, and we can become a club together, shared dynamics, and then provide way more value to each other than what it would have been historically. And instead of somebody being afraid to reach out because of maybe going to get a bill because of a timesheet or something, they won't be afraid to reach out because they feel like they are a member of what we are trying to accomplish. But the other thing, part of that dynamic that I think is important, is the old traditional accounting firm where they serviced thousands of clients, a small accounting firm in this example, but that serviced thousands of clients. You cannot build that form of a relational community, membership, whatever organization with thousands of clients with a small team. Not in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, it's not possible. You can
I would definitely agree.
You can only do that with a smaller select few.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we see that over and over in lots of different places. Well, we have an exit question, as you know, Caleb, which we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
Yeah. So this one's a hard one. I have lots of different heroes. So one of them that I would list out would be in the accounting community. I think last time I gave my dad, which he's definitely a hero of mine, but I think this time let's go with Ron Baker. His business acumen and knowledge, experience, and et cetera. I mean, every time I listen to him, I walk away some of it's stuff that I heard last year, the last time I heard him, and et cetera. But I just walk away with just blown away by everything. And I'm like, I got to change everything that I do because I heard something from him. So that would be one person I would list out as a hero of mine.
All right. And lastly, Caleb, how can somebody contact you?
You can reach me on social. So Twitter handles, Caleb L. Jenkins, or Facebook or LinkedIn. Email is Caleb's, CALEB, at rljfinancial.com. Social is going to be good, or email, either one, or reach out to us through our website, so rljfinancial.com.
All right. Caleb Jenkins, thanks so much for being a guest once again on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.